Cursor has made me 10 times more productive and it literally changed everything for me. But here's the thing, I constantly see people using it the wrong way. Bad prompts, garbage code and a huge amount of frustration. The reason? A fundamental misunderstanding of what Cursor actually is and how it should be utilized the right way. But don't worry, after watching this video, everything will change. I will show you exactly how I use Cursor to crank out good, scalable, and the most important thing, secure code. I will show you my workflow, my prompting strategy, review tools which I use in GitHub, and even how I code hands-free just with my voice. Something most people don't realize is an actual game changer. So, without any further ado, let's roll the video. Let's go! Alright, so to get started, let's first of all discuss what plan I use. Do I pay $200 per month or rather only $20 per month? Well, to be honest with you, I use the Pro tier. I can't justify $200 per month for an editor. This is just too much. But at the same time, I must say, I get rate limited always about halfway into the month. So my tokens run out and I can't use Cursor anymore. Therefore, I have like a little fallback, which is Windsurf. So whenever my tokens run out, I use Windsurf, I pay $15 per month, and then once Cursor again works, once I get my new tokens, I again use Cursor. Now sadly, Cursor does not have a nice usage view, but I found this nice extension called Cursor Usage, and inside of here you see that my plan got renewed a few days ago and I already used 15%, so I will get rate limited quite soon again, which is kinda annoying. Now you might ask me, hey Jan, what models do you use primarily? And I use 4 models. This is Claude for Sonnet as the thinking model, if this makes sense, GPT-5 with a medium reasoning effort, and GPT-5 with a high reasoning effort. Now here's the thing, my model usage changes every day pretty much. Okay, not every day, but you could say every month. A month ago, or let's say a few months ago, I used Claude 3.5, then 3.7, then Claude 4. Currently, I use GPT-5, but it always changes. But for me, primarily, I always use either a model from Claude, Anthropic, or from OpenAI, meaning GPT-5, 6, 7, 420, who knows. But yeah, these are my main models. So now you know what I pay for Cursor, what models I use, and now let's get into the details. How do I use Cursor the right way, and why do most people use Cursor the wrong way? So here's the thing, this is a empty project directory as you see here, no folders, no files, nothing. And I want to create a new project, so I want to create a Slack clone. And before I get started and say, hey Cursor, create a Slack clone for me, which is a huge mistake, I have to first of all define pretty much all of the rules for Cursor. Because if I say, hey, create a Slack clone, Cursor won't know what primitives I want, what framework, what UI framework, what database, what ORM. This is a huge mistake, and that's what a lot of people do. They are very inconsistent with their input. Because here's the thing, input equals output. If your input is garbage, your output will be garbage. You want to have a very precise input to have a very precise output. So instead of saying, hey, I want to create a Slack clone, instead I want to say, hey Cursor, I want to create a Slack clone with the following features, create a scope file. Now I could do that with text, hey, I want to create this with the following feature set, create the general overview. I could do that by typing, but to be honest with you, this is kinda annoying. So here's one thing which I do. I don't type a lot when I use Cursor. Instead, I go to ChatGPT, and then inside of here, I actually use the dictate function. I dictate what I want, and then I copy the result. So you know what? Let me show it to you. Hey Cursor, so I want to create a Slack clone with the same features as Slack, but I want to have a few more, you could say AI features. I want to have like a thread summarizer and then a compose assistant, which pretty much helps the user generate a better message. So grammar, grammar and stuff like that. This is what I want to create as a core feature set. For the details itself, I want to use Next.js, I want to use ORPC for my API layer, I want to use Shadc and UI, Prisma for my ORM, I will deploy my application to Vercel. For billing, I will use Stripe. For authentication, I will use Kind. This is the core feature set. I want you to now help me to create a scope for all of that, what I should do, and at the end, I want you to generate a game plan for me on what I should implement and how I should implement it step by step. So now I'm finished. I dictated what I want, what my feature set is, what technologies I want to use, and that it should generate a game plan at the end, meaning what I should implement step by step and when I should implement what. So this is now finished. I can copy this, go back to Cursor, I will paste it inside of here, and at the end I will say, please store the result in a scope.md file. For the mode, this will be agent, and for the model, since this is a very, you could say, detailed question, I want to use something high reasoning. Therefore, I will use GPT-5 High. This will, at the end of the day, consume a lot of tokens, but in this case, it will give me the best result because I want to have a good result because this is like the starting point, and the starting point is the most important thing. This will now generate everything. This will take a minute or so let's see. Alright, so as you see here, Cursor is finished and it generated a scope.md file. So inside of here, we first of all have the project scope, a description, assumptions, vision and goals. Okay, build a modern, fast collaboration app for teams. That's correct. Here you see in scope features, version 1. That's important because you can't build all features at once. It's at the end of the day a versioning play. Version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Let's scroll to the bottom. Did it create a game plan? That was very important. Search AI details, that's nice. So it described the individual features. UI UX routes, that's important. And then here we have our step-by-step implementation game plan. Phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So this is super important. And let me again summarize everything. So a lot of people like to just say, do this, do that. This does not work. Your input dictates your output. If your input is bad, your output will be bad. That's important. What you need is a good scope, a good game plan. And that's what we have with the scope plan, because we can now reference the scope plan in this cursor chat field. Whenever we have questions, we can point cursor, or in other words, the LLM, to the scope file. We can reference specific phases, specific features. And this helps cursor, but at the end of the day, the developer itself, us, also quite a bit. So this is important. And here's the thing, you want to be precise. And that's the reason why I used this ChatGPT dictation window and not just this general chat field. Because the thing is, when I type on my keyboard, I get annoyed quite quickly. What I mean by that is I don't want to type a whole, you could say, book about what I want. No, I want to just quickly say, hey, this and that. And when I type, I don't get a good input. That's why I use dictation. With dictation, I can get the best input, which means I can get the best output. And this is my output, the scope file. It's very detailed, and that's exactly what I wanted. So now you might say, okay, Jan, we now have our scope file, which is good. We know what we want. We know how to build everything. So can we just say, hey, cursor, get started with the scope file and do everything that is mentioned inside of here? No, please don't. Hold your horses. This is a huge mistake. And honestly, I think this whole idea comes from a huge misunderstanding of what cursor is and what it should do. So here's the thing. In my opinion, cursor is not an agent. I don't treat it like a developer or a senior engineer or anything like that. In my opinion, cursor is an AI assistant which has agent capabilities, which can help me write code, but at the same time, it can do a lot of mistakes. Sometimes it has the knowledge of a senior engineer, and sometimes it gives me a result of a below average junior engineer. Therefore, I treat cursor like a very junior engineer, an employee at my company. This means I have to give him rules, I have to give him bite-sized tasks, and if all of that is done, if I do my work, my input, then the output will also be good. So in this case, the input is huge. We have a description, assumptions, features, feature descriptions, the whole game plan, the phases. This input is way too big. The output, sure, maybe cursor will generate something that will work, but it won't be scalable. I need good code, secure code, and something that can scale to make me a gazillionaire. So now you might say, okay, Jan, so we want to give bite-sized tasks, something that the AI cursor can digest and respond in a professional and good way with good code, secure code, and everything that I mentioned. So here we have phase 0. So let's just say, hey cursor, look at the scope file and implement phase 0. Yes, this will work, and this is already way better than the initial idea of just saying implement everything. This is way better because this is now bite-sized. So we have a scope. But the thing is, in my experience, the foundation is probably one of the most important things when working with an AI assistant. The better the foundation and with that the guardrails are, the better the solution will be. So now you might say, hey Jan, this all makes sense. Yes, we need a good foundation to generate good results. But what are you suggesting? Are you trying to say that we should manually code up phase 0 and phase 1? Wouldn't this take way too much time? At the end of the day, we want to ship fast. And yes, that's right. And in my opinion, sure, coding yourself will always be the best solution for a foundation. Nevertheless, there is a solution, and the solution is called Better T-Stack. Better T-Stack is an open source modern CLI for scaffolding end-to-end type-safe TypeScript projects. So if you click on the top on Builder, then you will see this page, and this allows you to literally just create a foundation using all of the technologies that you want and need. So in this case, what technologies do we want to use? Well, I want to use Next.js for my front end. I don't need a native front end for my back end. I will use Next.js for my runtime, Node.js for my API layer. As you know, I want to use ORPC, so this will be ORPC for the database, Postgres, for the ORM Prisma, for the DB setup, Neon, for web deploy, this will be none, for server deploy, none, for auth, this will be better auth, for payments, you could say Polar, let's say no payments, and for the package manager, this will be Bun. Then I want to use Turbo Repo, maybe Starlight, stuff like that, and that's already it. I can also toggle these examples to see something, and now we have this CLI command, and this will scaffold a project using all of these technologies and best practices. So with that, we will have a good foundation which will help us to create new features using AI quickly and in a safe manner. So once you paste it into your terminal, you will find this new project directory. And inside of here, I have first of all my server and my web folder. So the web folder for the front end, the server for the back end. In theory, we can already use AI cursor to build features for us because we now have a solid foundation. So let me start the dev server. This is now running, and if I go back, then you will see that this is our project, pretty much the project which has been created using Better T-Stack. We have a homepage, a dashboard, to-dos, AI chat, and that's already it. So in this case, let's look at the to-do list. Let's maybe vibe code in a safe manner a little bit, and let me show you how I code once I have a fully set foundation. So here we have a to-do list. I can say subscribe. Let's add this. And you know what? This is a bit sluggish. I want to implement optimistic updates. So let's again go back. Let's first of all open the page.tsx. So this is already context. As you see here, we have our mutation layer, ORPC to-do.toggle mutation options. So this uses tan-stack query. Use mutation is a tan-stack query hook. This means we already have quite some context. And as mentioned, I want to implement optimistic updates. And as you know, we want to do that bite-sized because the AI agent is a junior engineer. So what would I do? Well, let me open my Explorer. I will open a new context window. And now here's my question to you. How should we tell cursor that it should right here implement optimistic updates? One solution could be, let's go into the agent mode as we are right now, and we could say, hey, add optimistic updates. Sure, I guess this works, but here's the thing. As I told you, input equals output. If your input is not precise, your output will be not precise. You want to have a precise input with as much context as possible. This here is your junior engineer. Tell him exactly what he should do. You are the senior engineer. You are the architect. So in this case, what I would do is again open ChatGPT, and I want to dictate what I want to exactly do. So let me show it to you. Hey cursor, so I have this to-do route where I I render to-dos and where users can also create new to-dos and complete them and stuff like that. And currently all of the data is pretty much handled by TanStack Query. So I fetch my data using TanStack Query and I mutate my data using TanStack Query. I also implemented ORPC for my API layer, but it's not very important. What I want you to do is to actually implement optimistic updates for the to-do creation. Now, right now, I don't want you to write any code. Instead, I want you to explain all of the steps needed to implement optimistic updates in this page itself. So as you see here, this is now finished. I can copy this, go back and paste it inside of here. But here's the thing, we are still not finished. So I now told pretty much Cursor about my page.tsx, what it does, what technologies I use, but I did not really append my context. Currently, I just say to-do's route, but I want to specifically pretty much route Cursor to this route. So let me just delete to-do's route and instead I want to get my page.tsx for the to-do's. Then I render my to-do's, this is all fine, this is all fine. Here I then mention that I use TanStack Query and ORPC and that I want to now implement optimistic updates for the to-do creation. Now here's the thing, all LLMs have a cutoff date. And for example, let's go to TanStack Query. The latest version right now is version 5. The thing is, LLMs are smart, but they don't know everything. Therefore, it's very important to add as much context as possible. We now added the context for the file itself, and we can also add context for this optimistic updates docs page. So I can either copy Markdown, this works, or I can just copy the URL. Here are the docs for more info at, and then I will just paste the website. That's it. So add link. And right here, the important thing is that I tell Cursor to not write any code, because what I want Cursor to do right now is first of all to actually go through the file, through the documentation and understand what I have and what I need. Then it should explain all of the steps needed, and then only as a second step I will let Cursor edit the file. Therefore I will also put this into ask mode. I don't want Cursor to edit the code, but only to read it and give me an answer. And for the model, instead of using GPT-5 High, I will use GPT-5 with medium reasoning, because in this case high reasoning is not needed anymore. And that's already it. Alright, so Cursor is now finally finished. Let me make this a bit bigger. So what exactly does it want me to do? Import the shared query client, get the exact query key for our to-do list. Okay, this makes sense. Replace the current create mutation, ensure that the types don't fight you. Yes, that's important. Prevent invalid server calls. Yeah, this is fine. So what we now have right here is a game plan. So Cursor did not write any code at all. It only generated what has to be done. And that's fine. We don't want anything more. So since we now have a good plan on what should be done, we can either implement it by ourselves, but why should we do that? Instead, we can prompt Cursor to implement these changes, which it just pretty much spit out. So inside of here, I can use native Mac OS dictation and I will say, great, thank you. Can you please implement all of the changes which you just proposed? Please follow the plan which you created. Thank you. I will now switch into agent mode. I can click on enter and that's already it. And this is what I always do. I never let Cursor touch the code right away, or in other words, edit it. I want you first of all, let Cursor generate a plan with all of the edge cases and to-dos. And once we have a good plan, Cursor will have it in its context window. It will know what should be done and it will follow the plan. This will always generate a better result than just prompting it to instantly edit the plan. So now here we get our to-do list. It will edit everything and I'm 99% sure that everything will work as expected. But let's see. Alright, it seems like Cursor is finished. It added the optimistic creation, which is good. And here's now the important thing. What most people will do is just open the code field, so in this case my editor, and they will just check, yeah, you know what, this looks kinda okay, let's just accept the file. Don't do that. This is a huge mistake. You are the senior engineer, you are the architect. Review what Cursor spits out. Sometimes it's good code, sometimes it's garbage. So before we review the code, let's first of all test it out. So I will just say hello, and if I click on add, yes, we have optimistic updates. Good, this works. Then let's review the code. On mutate, this looks fine, get the previous to-dos, temporary ID, optimistic to-do. This code isn't perfect, I'm missing types, a few other things. This looks fine, okay. This also looks kinda okay. This is fine enough. I don't see the reason to completely now update everything. But as you see, still, it isn't perfect. I'm missing a few types. You don't really need to do this constant to-use key. You can do it with ORPC a bit differently. Nevertheless, this is fine enough. I can just accept it, and that's it. And now I want to also share a few best practices with you guys, which I gathered throughout the years. So first of all, hallucination is a real pain point and quite annoying. So I like to use cursor for debugging. Sometimes I will make a mistake and then I will hover over the mistake and click on fix in chat. In most cases, cursor will fix the problem right away in a professional way, in the right way. But sometimes it will start to hallucinate. It will try to fix the error 5 times, it won't find the correct solution, and it will just burn my tokens, and at the end it will give me some sort of weird broken solution. Therefore, from my experience, the best solution is to, whenever you see that a session or whenever you see that the LLM starts to hallucinate, just start a new session, a new chat, and sometimes maybe even switch the model. So from GPT-5 to Claude 4. I once had a huge bug with optimistic updates. GPT-5 could not help me. I then created a new session, switched to Claude, and it fixed the problem right away. So this is something which I experienced quite often. Hallucination is quite a big problem, but a new window, a new chat field in most cases can fix everything or fix all of your problems. Another thing is user rules. So the thing is, Cursor offers these user rules with which you can add your own custom user rules and preferences. And you know what? They are quite powerful, but in my opinion, they are not needed. From my testing, it does not really matter if I have them implemented or not. The result is always the same, and that's because I pretty much prompt everything very specifically with as much detail as possible. I don't need the user rules. If you are a full-blooded vibe coder, then sure, they might make sense, but honestly, don't vibe code. Do it the smart way, programmatically bite-sized. If you want to use user rules, then you can go to the website Cursor Directory. They offer a lot of rules which you can just copy and then paste. Or another solution would be to use your scope, which you created, and then you can prompt Cursor to create a cursor rule from this scope itself. This is also a good solution, but again, in my opinion, they are not really needed. Oh, and by the way, I mean both user rules and project rules. I mean, they are almost the same. Project rules are just scoped to your code base, and user rules are global to your cursor environment. So this is now also finished, and there's one more point I want to talk about. So when Cursor generates the code, it applies it, and then you get this diff view here with this green section with the newly added code, and then the red section with the deleted code. So how do I review the code? Well, first of all, I use my eyes, right? I review it, and if it looks good, I accept it. Now, what most people do is literally just go inside of the source control and push everything into main. This is not something that I do, to be honest with you. Even if the change is super simple, I still create a separate branch, and then I create a PR. Because here's the thing, Cursor offers a feature called BugBot. BugBot is like an AI code review which lives in GitHub and then reviews the changes, and if it sees that there are any problems, it throws an error or gives you a warning and says, hey, you probably made a mistake, double check it, blah blah blah. This is fine. The only problem is $40 per month is overpriced, in my humble opinion. Therefore, I actually use a different service for PR reviews. So here, for example, I have a PR which I merged yesterday, and this is for my next long form video. And here I implemented a new feature which is a compose assistant, so like an AI feature in this case. And I have actually 3 PR review tools running. First of all, Codo merge, then I have also GrabTile running, and in this project specifically not, but in most cases I also have CodeRabbit running. So 3 PR tools which are quite powerful. All of them always give me different warnings, like for example Codo gave me other warnings than for example GrabTile. So in my opinion, it's good to have multiple AI code review, PR review tools. They are powerful, and even though I believe that I'm a good developer, they still always catch very important things, very good things, which I wouldn't see myself. So yeah, that's how I review my code. I first of all reviewed myself, and then in the PR itself, these services again with you all of my code. Bugbot, I tested it, it's fine, but I honestly don't believe that it's worth $40 per month. I mean, it's more expensive than the standard pro tier, so for coding, which does not make any sense to me. But okay, that's fine. So let me again summarize everything. In my opinion, Cursor is not an agent. It's not a senior developer. It's not there to replace you. It's an AI assistant, a junior developer, which needs a lot of rules to create good and scalable, and the most important thing, secure code. So please review the code which gets outputted. Use the technique of prompting as I just showed you. First of all, ask Cursor to create a detailed plan, and then let Cursor implement this detailed plan. This will create the least amount of errors and the best possible code. And now I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and my heart. So please do it. And now in the next video you will see me in a new location. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.